Hey, this is a Hakawati production. Hey, welcome to The Men's Room, the show where you'll get to know some of the region's most game-changing entrepreneurs, CEOs, musicians, and today we have an adventurer in the studio. Our guest is the unbelievable Everest climbing, desert conquering, and ocean crossing, Maxime Chaya. Welcome, Maxime.
Hi, Nadia.
So you describe yourself as an avid mountaineer and explorer, but you're also quite an athlete, right? You stay fit and you're into running and races. And you don't describe yourself like that? You don't describe yourself as an athlete, but I'm guessing that you must train pretty hard to do all that stuff. And you also just organized the Ultra Trail des Cèdres, 75-kilometer race on mountain trails in the Cedars of Lebanon. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Yes. Ultra Trail des Cèdres, it's actually a French name because cèdre is cedars in French.
But trail is an English word. Why is it Ultra Trail?
No, Ultra Trail is also French.
All right.
Ultra Trail, Ultra is, and trail has become French, just like sandwich, just like...
okay.
Yeah.
Trail is like sandwich, okay.
Just like lots of these, like weekend. They use it. I think it's become in the French dictionary.
Did not know that.
So this is a race. There is running, and... Ultra means longer than marathon. Trail means on trails rather than on tarmac or paved roads. And I don't know if you know the area, but the Chouf Cedar Reserve, which is the largest in Lebanon and which houses some amazing cedar trees proprietary to Lebanon, it has such amazing trails. And when you run amid those trees, it's magic. And actually, well, almost everyone who ran, and some people wrote testimonials about that. So this was a project for 2020, but I woke up like one night, like 2.5 months ago, and I thought, why not start it this year and get the ball rolling? Because I know that in a few years, and I've challenged myself, that in a few years, UTC, Ultra Trail des Cèdres, will become an internationally recognized ultra trail event in this friendly country that is Lebanon, which, contrary to many beliefs, has beautiful mountains. We're blessed with high mountains, and we're blessed with, of course, snow in the winter, etc. And where such a race is amazing. And actually, this morning I was speaking to Sharif, who climbed Everest this year. I think Sharif,
who's Sharif?
I think he's Egyptian. I don't know his last name.
Oh.
He did run on
Sharif, who climbed Everest. There must not be that many.
No, there must not be that many. He's right now in Dubai, and he spoke to me this morning, and he said to me, Max, UTC should be on the World Ultra Trail Tour. He's run many ultras. He's an ultra guy.
Because it's kind of a worldwide trend, right? There's a lot of those in Europe and stuff. Is it a network?
Yes. And I read an amazing article in the Daily Telegraph. The guy was saying, who would want to run on paved roads when you can run on trails? Who would want to run between concrete when you can run in national parks? And who would want to run up and down speed bumps when you can run up and down mountains? So yes, this is the trend, and that's with regards to trails. And with regards to ultra, yes, it is also the trend, because like me long ago, nowadays, a lot of people want to challenge themselves and beat themselves and find out the new themselves by pushing the limits.
Yeah. So you organized it this year because have you ever run one before?
Well, I crossed the desert on my bicycle, which is more than a trail.
We'll talk about that a bit later.
No, hold on a second.
Stop
have I
bragging.
ever run an ultra? No, I have. Hold on a second. No.
Okay.
But Lahsen Hansal, who has won the Marathon des Sables 10 times, he's Moroccan. The Marathon des Sables is the mother of all ultras. Okay, he's won it 10 times. He's a legend. I drove him to Beirut airport this morning. He stayed at my place for a week. Him and I are cooking up something for us to run the next or the 2020 Marathon des Sables for charity somehow. So stay tuned on that.
Okay, sounds tiring. So basically, you organized this event, and actually I heard from a lot of people who were part of it that it was exquisitely well organized, because a lot of these events can be a little bit chaotic. I mean, how many people run this race?
I was expecting 100. We got more than 200, which was a good problem to have. But you say it was exquisite. Well, you can improve on anything, and I know that 2020 will be a lot
Even better.
And I
Because the thing is, 200 doesn't sound like that many people, but when you're talking about narrow trails in the woods, if you're not well organized in every way, I mean, you can have like people tripping all over each other. That could be one problem.
UTC had 3 races. One is 25K to get people to know this. And then one is 45, and then the big one is 75. The 75K had a 3 a.m. start with a 16-hour cutoff time, so they had to be back.
How long was this one?
75K.
Yeah, okay, no. How long did it? What was the duration?
Well, one lady was on the trail for 17 hours. I waited for her until she got in, although her cutoff time was 16 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, she did 17 hours in 25 minutes, but she made it. And I waited for her. It was dark. I just hugged her.
That's insane.
Then I had to go home. And so, there was 3 races to get people to know this. And the longer one was 75. And a lot of people, and that is amazing, a lot of people had never run 75. I have an amazing message from a lady actually from Canada. And she says she's never done this. And she says she went through all of the feelings that anyone can encounter, like exuberation, fear, I can't translate them from hallucinations, pain, agony. She went through all of the emotions, but she made it, although she had a problem in her knee. And she actually said it was the best thing she'd ever done in her life.
So were there issues with having all those people kind of running on this in this small space?
It's not a small space; it's a huge space.
Well, lengthwise, but I mean, if everyone's starting at the same time.
No, there's no. The problem does not lie there.
Okay.
But there's always problem, Nadia. I mean, you're pushing people to do things which is sometimes beyond their limit or at their limit. And like, I'll tell you one thing. One guy came up to the 75-kilometer race start line. He did not have a headlight. He did not have a backpack.
That would have been me, like, if I came to the race. I'd be like, without water.
But he made it.
He did?
He did, and I'm going to give him a medal, although he shouldn't have been...
allowed to run.
Yes. And plus, he brought single-use plastic, which is something...
It's a no-no.
It's a big no-no for me, and actually distributed refillable bottles, aluminium bottles printed with UTC on them in order for people to raise awareness about this horrible thing called single. As you know, Canada 2 weeks ago voted out single-use plastic. There's no such thing as single-use plastic in Canada, and by 2020 in Europe there will not be any as well. Hopefully one day.
It's amazing that you can incorporate this in something like a run. You know, everyone has to start for things to change to implement this kind of stuff in whatever they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, during a marathon,
great.
You drink from single-use plastic bottles and you throw them.
Yeah.
And of course, people
terrible.
They pick them up, and I'd like to think that they recycle them in the proper way. But how can you do that on a trail in a huge mountain, 75 kilometers of trails?
Yeah, that would have been a disaster if they had plastic bottles.
That's why. So the guy comes with just one 300 milliliter single-use plastic bottle. He doesn't have his phone with the SOS number programmed in, no backpack, nothing. My God. So I will give him a medal. But I've written, today I posted a message on the website, www.ultratraildescedres.com. .com.
Yeah.
So I posted a message in 3 languages, French, English, and Arabic.
What? Yeah. Go ahead, finish.
Just saying that this year I'll be lenient.
Yeah.
Okay, and many of you had infringements. Some of you should not have even been given the start. But I promise you that next year, for this race to become international and for people to respect us as a race organizer and Lebanon as a race venue, will have to apply the rules.
Yeah, and you have to adhere to certain standards.
Yes, ma'am.
Makes sense. So what are some of the challenges then? You were talking about some things that are difficult.
Oh, well, you can imagine. We had 11 checkpoints for the 75-kilometer race, of which 7 were for the 45-kilometer race, and of which 4 were for the 25-kilometer race. Also, you have to have water at every checkpoint. Also, you have to have people manning the checkpoints and ticking off the participants. Also, you have to know which participants are still on the course beyond the cutoff time, and you have to pick them up. Also, you have injuries, and you have to deal with
Were
that.
there a lot of injuries?
By the way, I have to say a great big thank you to the Red Cross, who helped me in two ways. They had two hats on that race. One, their job is to, they had 42, they call them cases of injuries, which they dealt with amazingly well. One person ended up in hospital because he was hallucinating.
Was it that guy with the little bottle of water?
No, it wasn't.
No.
And the other thing that the Red Cross did amazingly well for the first time, and with just a quick briefing from me, was they manned the checkpoints. And they did it very well. I also want to thank the Shuf Cedar Reserve people, without whom we couldn't have done this. And can I thank my sponsors? There's just 4.
No.
Thank you, ma'am.
If you want, go ahead.
Okay.
Who are the sponsors of this wonderful race?
Well, listen.
Who supports
No, I have to thank them. I'll tell you why,
projects?
Nadia, because like I said to you, I decided this 2.5 months ago.
Yeah. So they worked quickly.
And I just gave a few calls to people. It's
Yeah.
people. It's
Yeah.
not companies.
Sure.
I called Marwan Khairuddin. AM Bank was in. I called Talal Al-Sha'ir and Dar Al-Handasa was in. I called Nabil Bustros and Midis Group was in. And I called Mr. Hayek.
Yeah.
And Alpha was in. So all 4
Amazing.
are...
Well, you're a well-liked guy, I guess. It's hard to say no to you, and it's such a positive project. That
Hey,
also,
this is the men's room. You're not...
Yeah.
I think what they
you're
know is that...
popular in the men's room, Maxime.
Thank you. Thank you,
You're
Nadia.
welcome.
But in the men's room, there's only Nadia.
That's what you think. So actually, I was asking a lot about the organization because when it comes to these kinds of events and challenges, there's dangers involved. I mean, when you're obviously in a run, it's not as challenging, but you've done a lot of mountain climbing, and there's been a lot of accidents this year. We've heard
But mountain climbing is me. The race I organize for others.
Yeah, but
we don't care about. I care about others.
No, but I'm talking.
I'm leaving overtime.
I want to ask you
Yes.
about mountain climbing.
Yes.
Because people were kind of, there was a lot of media attention this year on at least 11 people who died climbing Mount Everest.
Yes.
And just recently, yesterday, I think, or recently, there's news of another 8 people in the Himalayas that died in an avalanche. And there's video of them. We found their camera buried in the snow.
Yes.
They were being very careful. There was an avalanche. So, first of all, is that part of the appeal of doing these kinds of things, the risk taking and the idea that you might not come back alive?
I don't think so. No. Listen, it's normal. There was 11 deaths this year. There was 13 in 2006 when I climbed the mountain. Okay, people die on the mountain, and they usually die coming back from the summit.
How do they? What happens to them? Why are they?
Well, you if you sit down from exhaustion, you just freeze to death, and you cannot get up again.
Wow.
Okay, and then you're in this area called the death zone.
Yeah,
where
8,000 meters and up.
just
and
above
above?
1,000 meters.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, some people even, and in this zone, you know, your body is eating itself. You cannot stay there forever. You just got to go peak there, steal the summit, as they say, and then come back. And if you spend too much time in there, your body's
Is it
there's
because
not
of the
enough
oxygen? Yeah.
Yeah, the oxygen is there, but the pressure is not there, so you're not able to assimilate all of the oxygen. So on the summit of Everest, you have a third of the oxygen that you and I enjoy in the men's room.
Mighty fine smelling oxygen, I might add.
Yes. But listen, you said mountain climbing is dangerous.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But so is driving a car, and people drive cars every day.
Especially in
More
certain
people die
cities,
on
yeah.
highways than they do
true.
on the mountain.
That's true.
So yeah, when you do not respect the mountain, then you run into trouble. Nobody conquers the mountain. Nobody challenges the mountain. You challenge yourself on the mountain.
Yeah.
And as long as you know that, the mountain will always be there, and that you can always go back and climb it, then you stay within the limits, and you keep the back door open to return to your loved ones alive.
Hopefully. So you've actually climbed 7 summits. You've done quite a bit of mountain climbing. Is
I
that
climbed
right?
what's called the 7 summits, the
called
highest,
Seven.
the highest peak on each continent, and I ended it with Everest.
Okay.
But in order to do these, I climbed many, many other summits.
Wow, super impressive. But you're not just into mountain climbing.
No,
You've done some pretty wild things, gone on some pretty wild adventures.
one of them is in your country. I began from the north of Canada at Ward Hunt Island, just north of Eureka. And
I have no idea where that is.
Yeah, well,
but
nobody
okay.
does.
It
Nobody
sounds
does.
really smart, or like
Smart Eureka.
I don't know,
Why?
Eureka,
Because of
success. I don't know.
It's like a base in the north of Canada where the last census showed 6 people on a rotational basis. But this is the extreme north of Canada from where I skied to the North Pole.
You skied to the North Pole.
Yes.
How cold was it?
Extremely cold. Especially in the beginning when the sun was not yet above the horizon. So we started off with no sun. And then...
You mean like it was like dark all day long? Yeah.
Not dark, twilight, because we started off on the 3rd of March. So the sun would come close to the horizon, but never above it. So we'd never see it. But by the end, when we reached the pole on the 25th of April,
so
2009...
how long did that take?
53 days.
Oh my goodness.
But by then, by 25th of April, there's 24-hour sunlight. But in the beginning, it's very, very cold, especially when you're close to land, when you're close to Canada. So when we landed, what was the pilot's name? A very Canadian name. It's Twin Otters.
Jean-Guy? No. Probably not.
The company is called Ken Borek Air.
Okay.
They have these little Twin Otters equipped with skis to land. So he lands and he goes out and he goes to the back door and he opens it and he holds it with both hands so it doesn't smash on the fuselage from the wind. And he tells me, I was sitting right there, he tells me, Max, welcome to nowhere. The temperature is minus 48.
Ugh. That's crazy. And you didn't get back on and like go home. That's crazy.
I had prepared for this for ages. So I had been to the North Pole before, but I had skied what's called the last degree. 1 degree is 60 nautical miles. The pole is at 90 degrees north. So we were dropped at 89 degrees and we skied there with a bunch of Norwegians. It was very, very hilarious. With my good friend Børge Ausland, he's another polar explorer. And it took 7 or 8 days. So I'd been there before and I wanted to do what's called an all the way. So from land all the way to the pole, both for the North Pole and the South Pole.
Wow. That's brave. You've also crossed the Indian Ocean on a rowboat. That's kind of
that was the craziest thing I had ever done.
Is it really?
Yes, to date.
It doesn't sound crazier than what you just described to me, anyways.
Oh no! Listen, Everest was dangerous and difficult. South Pole is like a walk in the park. Okay, it's like a holiday on ice. Okay, but North Pole was extremely dangerous and cold, and you get open water. You get open leads and you have to cross them, wear your dry suit and swim across.
Oh my goodness.
And then there's the polar bears, etc., etc.
Wow.
But then the Indian Ocean, starting off in Western Australia and rowing all the way to Africa in 57 days. Nothing but open water in sight with 2 other smelly men with no men's room aboard. Oh, that was crazy. And we had, in 57 days, we took food for 90 days. We finished in 57, which was a Guinness World Record. We actually established 3 Guinness World Records.
So wait. Did you have all your food on your boat with you? Was it just you guys and the small boat? You didn't have like a support vessel or anything?
No support vessel, no nothing. If you're given one single biscuit along the way, the Ocean Rowing Society does not recognize it as a crossing.
Wow. So you brought, what kind of food can you, like 90 days is a lot of food.
We brought a lot of chocolate. Oh, I should show you the documentary. But we took also a lot of dehydrated food.
Yeah.
It's all stashed in the hatches below deck.
Same thing that astronauts bring,
yes,
right?
Ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am. Yes.
So you rowed for 57 days.
We did.
Did you sleep at night? Like, do you take shifts?
You do, but only for 2 hours, not more, never more.
You sleep for 2 hour
windows. We practiced what's called polyphasic sleep. So you sleep for 2 hours and then you row for 2 hours and then you sleep for 2 hours. Actually, we did another plan. We did 2 hours of sleep, 4 hours off. 2 hours of rowing, 4 hours off.
I would be confused too. I'd be like...
Yeah, well, listen. Yes, we got confused because I had devised a rostrum made by those who do the Vendée Globe, the sleep deprivation experts. And it was very complicated. Sometimes there was 2 rowers, sometimes there was 1, sometimes it was an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. Then our desalinator broke down, so we could not row in pairs. We had one person on the handheld desalinator.
Oh, you had a handheld one, thank goodness.
Oh yeah, thank goodness. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. So see, that's an example of where you could have died.
Oh yeah, I could have died coming to the men's room today.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Lebanese roads.
Yeah.
Listen, I respect nature.
But wouldn't that be a better place to die, actually, than to be
Of course.
Of course, yeah.
Nature.
Yeah.
Of course. And that is why, actually, the people who die on Everest stay there. Because the indigenous people from the region, the Sherpas, do not touch any corpse. Because they believe that when a mountain claims a life, it becomes part of the mountain. Secondly, why would you want to risk other people's life to drag a body down? You know how difficult it is? It is dangerous enough with crampons and icy surfaces to move yourself. How would you want to drag a sack of potatoes? And thirdly, why would you want to drag somebody down to bury him or her in the sand where the worms will eat? You're in a perfectly, you're in a morgue and your body's perfectly preserved.
Yeah.
And then the view is
cryotherapy, possibly.
Maybe. And then if he or she chose to go there and they die, why would you want to bring them back to? I know the families want to see.
Yeah.
I used to think like that, but when you think about it in a different light.
Never thought about that. That's an interesting point. So you've also biked across I'm not sure how to pronounce this, the Rub Al Khali desert, which is
the empty quarter in English.
The empty quarter, 1,000 kilometers long, 500 kilometers
wide.
No,
it's 1,500 kilometers
1,500 kilometers long.
Yeah.
And it's
from Abu Dhabi to Salalah.
It's the world's biggest sand desert, right?
Yes.
That's back in 2016. You crossed the desert on a bicycle for 21 days.
With my very funny British teammate Steve.
So why would you ride a bicycle in the sand? It sounds kind of...
It's a special bicycle, Nadia.
It is a special bicycle?
Yeah,
I was going to ask you that
question. It's not a road bike, yeah. It's a fat bike.
The tires must be different.
Yes,
different.
And there's no chain. There's a carbon belt drive.
Oh,
There's no gears. They're internal gears.
Because the chain would get all messed up and muddy.
Yeah. It wouldn't last 3 days.
Yeah.
And why would you want to bike in the desert? Oh my God!
Well, now that you've said there's a special bike, I can see that it might be more interesting.
We did have to push it a few times because sometimes the sand is so fine, your foot goes through.
Yeah.
But look, I believe I'm a biker. Okay, so maybe I'm a bit biased, but I believe biking is the best way to discover a place. Walking is too slow. In a car, you have noise, you have the smell. Yeah? There's something between. Biking is a perfect thing. And the desert, Nadia, I'm in love with the desert.
Why?
I fell in love with the desert.
How hot was it?
It was very hot.
Yeah. So what do you like about
Although
it?
it was in November, December. Yeah. I've been trying for the past 2 years to get the Saudi government to allow me to do it again, only with a different route, which I find more sexy.
Wow, a sexy desert. Is it like the shapes of the dunes?
Well, yeah.
You don't have to answer that. So they haven't approved your next bike ride?
They said yes, and they said your thing is on the desk of God knows who in the presidential palace, but then it all fell through. So now,
Saudi government, if you're listening, please approve Maxime Chaya's request.
It's called BRAC, Biking Rub Al Khali, BRAC.
Okay.
And I think it would shed, very positive light on this misunderstood thing called the desert. The desert is amazingly beautiful. You spend one night in the desert and you'll start to understand what I mean, okay? And then these dunes, they change every single day. They're sculpted by the wind, by God, by whatever you want to call it. It's just amazingly beautiful. And it's shades of all possible colors. And to experience it raw like that, just you and your bike and sleeping in a flimsy tent. 500...
Yeah, so every night you stop and you sleep in a tent?
Oh, yes. Every night we had to stop and find the cache where we had buried our food and water.
Oh, my God. What do you mean?
I'd been there before in 4x4s to
I
bury
see.
my food and water. I needed more than 12 liters of water per person per day. 12 liters is 12 kilos. It took 21 days. Can you imagine? I mean, there's no way you can carry your water.
So
And
how can you find your caches when the sand dunes are continuously shape-shifting?
Oh no, they don't shift that quickly,
much?
and also they would not move.
So you've marked them on your map, I imagine? Or is
on
that
my GPS,
on your GPS?
on my device. Yes,
Okay.
yes, and I did. Well, there was other things, but yeah, we never missed one, and only one was vandalized by the foxes, the very last one, because there was a lot of chalk in the ground close to Salalah, and I
Okay.
wasn't able to dig deep enough to burn them deep enough for the foxes not
So
to
the
smell it.
foxes vandalized your
Yeah.
stocks of water and food.
So after 83 kilometers I had to bike to a nearby village because we had come close to. I'd bike another 23 plus 23, 46 kilometers to buy food for myself and Steve and come back to camp to be able to finish.
Chocolate?
Actually, we didn't know. Well, yeah, lots of biscuits, but no, we
Biscuits.
bought tuna and cheese and bread.
Is there when you're doing this kind of stuff, how do you eat? Does it matter how you eat, or is it just about getting calories?
Let me tell you a story. On my way to the South Pole, where I almost asked for an evacuation because although we were on a 5,500 calorie diet, I lost a lot of weight. And then I got cold and I frosted my nose and my veins showed everywhere and I got very weak. And I wrote down that although there was 5 of us, among us there was a cook. That cook cooks every single possible cuisine you can think of. You do not hear him or her. You do not see him or her. His name or her name, hunger. When you're hungry, you eat just about anything. And everything tastes great.
Yeah.
You just want the calories.
So it doesn't matter, and you don't get different energy. Like if you eat chocolate, in a regular day, it's not that you don't feel that energized, or you kind of have that dip of the sugar dip. I guess that doesn't
chocolate
happen.
is a lot of calories.
Yeah.
What you need is calories. You just got to.
It doesn't matter from what.
And chocolate is a lot of calories per weight. Well, of course, you shouldn't eat chocolate all the time, but I ate more chocolate on my North Pole trip and on my Indian Ocean trip than ever in my life. But for example, when I was seasick in the first 2 weeks, there's nothing you can eat in the beginning, but chocolate is readily available and it's good to eat and it's a lot of calories. It's not good for your teeth. It's not good for you. But what you need is the calories.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have that.
So you were seasick, and there were no men's room on the boat.
Our boat was 8.5. My boat was 8.5 meters wide.
Okay.
Long. Meter 8 wide. There's no toilet. There's no running water.
You have a sleeping bag. You just lie in the bottom
No
of the boat.
sleeping bag. There's a cabin at the front and the cabin at the
Okay.
back. And every time you go into the cabin, it's still wet from the sweat from the guy before you.
Oh no.
Yes, it's horrible.
Yeah. So
you have to move out of your comfort zone to do things like this.
And you must get really close also with your teammates when you're doing these kinds of things,
yes.
right?
We almost had a fist fight.
Really?
Myself and Levar.
About what?
Oh, when you're in a very harsh environment and it's only normal.
Yeah.
But then being the captain, I had to think of a way to avert that. And I told Levar, listen, we're disagreeing on a lot of things, okay? But let's agree on one thing. I told him, there's actually one thing we can agree on. And he says, no. I told him, yes, there is. And he says, no, there isn't. I said, listen, can't we agree that we both want to get to Mauritius as quickly and as safely as possible? So I told him, rather than fight, why don't you sit there and fight the waves and you row as many hours as you can, and then I'm going to beat you. He rowed 8 hours straight. I then went and rowed 6 and I told him, you win.
Wow. Conflict resolution 101 right there.
Oh, yes. And then a week later, I told him we both won because we got close and we won a world record by a few hours. So that made it.
That was a smart tactic. So you have a pretty unusual job, right? Is this what your job, being an adventurer? Is this how you... I mean, it's not a traditional career choice. Are you doing other things on the side to kind of make it lucrative?
Lucrative. Well, adventurers don't need that much lucrative. I don't get my kicks from driving a Ferrari or But yes, I do other things. I do talks to large companies where it's entitled "There's an Everest for Everyone," where I make the link between what we do on the mountain or in expedition and life in general and business in particular. And I've addressed big companies like Coca-Cola and General Motors and Johnson & Johnson and Hewlett-Packard and all these guys. So I do this still.
Yeah,
my main, I still enjoy the outdoors. But what's new now is that I enjoy getting others to enjoy the outdoors, and it's even more rewarding than doing it yourself. But I haven't neglected myself. So on the 3rd of August, I travel to China, where I'll be attempting to climb Mustag Ata.
What is that?
Mustag Ata is a beautiful mountain. It's 7,546 meters high, and I will be attempting it with no oxygen, of course, and on skis, on backcountry skis with sealskins at the bottom.
With sealskin at the bottom?
Yeah, the backcountry ski equipment.
Well, I used to. I'm from Canada. I used to do. I call it cross country skiing.
Cross
right?
country is different.
Different. Oh,
but backcountry.
We didn't have sealskin on our skis.
You had fish scales.
No, I don't think we had that either. They were just like cheap skis.
No, you cannot ski forward unless you're skating.
No.
Well, there's a zillion types of
Cross-country
skis.
skiing.
Cross-country skiing.
There was
but
no
you definitely
animal skin.
had fish scales at the bottom. Also, I went to school in Canada.
Yeah.
Which school did you go to?
In Canada?
Yes.
Like you mean like college?
Yes.
Concordia?
Okay, but which school? I went to school, like not college, but school.
Oh, I went to a school called FACE.
Faith.
FACE.
Face.
It was actually, it's short for Fine Arts Core Education. It was a school that had
where?
music and theater program in Montreal.
Montreal.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where did you go to school?
I went to Stansted College on the border near Sherbrooke.
That sounds much more sophisticated.
Yeah. And then I went to Ashbury, which is in Rockcliffe Park, which is in Ottawa. And on Ashbury, for example, we were not allowed to wear jeans even on a 5-mile radius. And we had to wear a tie every single day. So yes, it was a posh school.
It was in French or English? English.
Well, no, Ashbury was super English. So was Stansted, but we did learn French from a teacher we used to call TR7 because his nose resembled.
TR7?
Yes.
Who's TR7?
TR7 is a car made by Triumph, and his nose looked like a TR7. And he spoke English like I speak, like he spoke terrible. I'm sorry, he spoke French.
I'm very confused. He spoke French like you speak?
No, he spoke French. He spoke terrible French.
Oh, okay.
Terrible French. Terrible French Canadian.
And he was your French teacher?
He was.
Oh. Well, French Canadian sounds terrible even if you speak it well. So don't blame him.
Hey.
Well, I can say that. You can't say that. Well, you can say it if you want because it's true. It's actually, you know that when with French Canadian shows, when they syndicate them in France, they put subtitles on the bottom so that French people can understand what they're saying.
Lol.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Oh, yeah.
So you're actually very well-known personality. You have your own Wikipedia page, which is, not everyone has that. You've had a stamp made for you in this country here, Lebanon. And your phrase that you use, that you base your talks on, there's an Everest for everyone, is pretty well known. I mean, you've kind of, brought it to the forefront.
Hammered it
into us. What does it mean, though?
It means something that I believe in very, very fondly. We come into this planet or this life for a very short period of time. And it would be a shame for any of us not to discover what it is that drives them, what it is that they're passionate about, and, do it full-fledged during this short period we call. I'm sure there are a lot of people who, because either they are lazy or they don't challenge themselves or they don't try new things to see what it is they're passionate about, they miss huge opportunities, and that's a shame.
Well, Maxime, you make it look so fun. You make everything look so fun and easy. Thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your inspiring stories.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for joining us in the men's room. Don't forget to subscribe to our show if you haven't already. And also check us out on hackawadi.com and let us know what you think. Adios.